Welcome back to the Round One Popular Opinions. I am redoing this because my mic died the first time around, but at least this time I figured that out fairly quickly, so I think I did just one clip that I have to redo, and it is this one. It is hours later. Happy Halloween. Mine is most definitely not happy. Not only was it a hot day again, even though the entire month of October this year was cold, it's just my luck that the day of Halloween itself, it's like 25 degrees and I'm sweating. When I go out to get a pumpkin spice latte, which was in fact the first pumpkin spice latte of this autumnal season because it is surprisingly difficult to find them where I live. Like, I only found them in one cafe and I went to like three that supposedly were supposed to have themed drinks for autumn, but no. Okay, but I did get to drink it and it was lovely. It was actually delightful. I will go back to that cafe like in a few days when university starts. But today we're talking about Halloween. And I wanted to do Halloween differently this year because I always try to read something on the 31st or the 30th, and that literally never works because I don't have the time. I'm stressed out. I always have something else to do, and then it's just 2 hours of me complaining about not having read anything. So this year, I thought we could do sort of like an October wrap-up, where I talk about all the books that are thematically relevant to the month, and then the books that I am still either currently reading or will read regardless of October being over, because I think it's far more interesting to talk about books that I actually have read than try and cram in something that I'm just not going to be able to read into these 2 days. So let's get into it. I hope there's something in it for you, because I know that October and Halloween are over, but autumn actually lasts for another 2 months, and November is my favorite month of the year. So the fun is only just beginning for me, at least, and the leaves are finally getting really colorful and vibrant. In case anyone's wondering, these glasses are like blue light glasses because I was just doing work on my computer. I kind of like the vibe because they're really thin and they look kind of cool. So I don't really mind keeping them on for this studious time that is Halloween this year, because I'm not putting on a costume. So the first things that I read, I'm not going to go through everything, by the way, like wrap up style. I'm going to try and stick to some kind of theme. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about are actually like the comics, The Devil's Apothecary and The Red Island. I'm going to put like one of them on the screen or whatever. I got these from the library. I do like this artist. His art is stunning, especially in the second one, like of the waves, of the water, of them swimming on the island, of the island itself. However, this writer is horrendously graphic and violent in the nature of his storytelling, which he says at the end of the second installment that he could have been a lot more graphic as far as the real history of the event is concerned, but he dialed it down. And I'm like, if you hadn't dialed it down, I never would have read this. Like, this was already bad enough. This was already bad enough. I mean, warnings for like everything you would expect to happen when people get stranded and shipwrecked. Like, everything that you would expect to happen. Trigger warnings for everything that would happen in that scenario. Like, if you bring an animal on this trip and you're out of food on the boat, the animal will get eaten. Like, that's just, that's going to happen from the first minute that this woman brings her pet on the ship. Like, I'm just warning you because you need to know this. Everything that you expect to happen in this kind of situation does. It was disgusting. It was nauseating at times. It was just not my vibe as far as the violence is concerned. But I liked the drawing, and I liked one of the characters who I have no idea what the hell he's called. The one who, like, the only one who actually gets close to the female character. That's the character that I really, really liked. The villain was actually kind of interesting, and again, I really like the art. I think it fits the aesthetic because some people like gory, unpleasant, nauseating stories at this time of year, and this is like a tragedy at sea. So I don't know, maybe it fits. Maybe it kind of fits. Then I read The Crow by James O'Barr, also from the library. Like, I've just been reading everything from the library this month, apart from the stuff that I already do have. I wanted to read this like solely for the aesthetic because I saw what the art looks like. It looks very like punk, goth, like the film. That's exactly what it looks like. I also want to watch the film, by the way, and I might do it today because it kind of fits the vibe. But the story itself is really simple, actually. There's a tragedy that happens to this man, and he gets granted sort of invulnerability and a longer life so he can take revenge on the people who wronged him. And that's kind of it. That's literally the story. That's it. Like, I didn't expect it to be that simple for something that famous, but it was like cut and dry. Like, this is what's going to happen. You know that it's going to happen. It gets done, and then it's just done. That's it. That was the comic. It was kind of fun to look at the art, I suppose. Then I read The Dream Woman by Wilkie Collins, and I intentionally wanted to read this because in November I will start The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, so I thought it was kind of a fun idea to read one of the Penny Dreadfuls from my collection, and also to integrate a writer whose writing style I haven't yet experienced and don't know if I will like. I loved the writing style, and the story itself was exactly my kind of spooky. Like, I love it when it's not explicitly told what's happening, when there's sort of like a mystery about it, like a haze, a gloomy confusion about what's going on, while still also being very obvious what's going on. I don't really know how to articulate that very well, but I loved the story, and I really liked Wilkie Collins' writing style. So I can't wait to get started with Woman in White, which I didn't really get to this month because, of course, I didn't. Like, anytime I set myself a task outside of like academia or work, it's just not going to get done. That is not how I function in my private sphere with my interests. I cannot command myself to do something very often. I also reread like the entirety of my collection of the witch comics because I just really love them. They're not very Halloweeny at all, except maybe like the first one. So we will skip over that, but I have something else that I want to show you, and that is stuff that I am currently reading. So I am currently reading Ray Bradbury's From the Dust Returned, which I cannot find to purchase, so I got the ebook. I am currently reading the ebook. It is so strange. It is so strange and longer than his short stories are, so I'm really enjoying it, but it is very strange. Like, I've read quite a bit of Ray Bradbury at this point. This is one of the stranger things that he's done. Narrative-wise and writing-wise, it's a little bit chaotic, like tugging you from place to place with the descriptions that he uses. You can't like focus on one thing because he's going to bring in something new every paragraph for you to think about. And I was also rereading The Halloween Tree, which I don't think I'm going to finish today. Genuinely, like, my day is so full of problems that I just cannot focus on the vibes that I was supposed to be setting for myself. And then the stuff that I'm currently reading, let's just get into it. Then I got like this little penguin book of Shirley Jackson's short stories called The Demon Lover. And then I realized when I got home that I'd read almost all of these stories. So I read the stories that I hadn't read. Shirley Jackson is just always such a good choice if you want a vibe. I know people like to call her a horror writer, but I really wouldn't. Like, I don't think anything I've read by her, and I've read all her novels at this point, and so many short stories, would be like classified actual horror. There's more like a sense of dread, like a sense of discomfort at best, because she knows how to amp up your expectations and then not deliver intentionally. Like, she's a master at cutting the story off before she actually gives you a solid answer, which is why when I read one of her novels, I was shocked that she actually gives you a resolution. But Shirley Jackson's mastery is build up in subtext and like which words she emphasizes, and just the uncomfortable feeling you get in so many of her stories, and the bluntness and the sudden expressions that someone uses. She's very good at that. So I had a good time with those stories. And then I read Edgar Allan Poe because, of course, I did. I think I will read like another of his short stories today, just for the hell of it. I read The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar, specifically because if you if you know the game Arcana, which I've been playing since it came out, by the way. I just haven't played it in a few years, but I was one of the first people to download it because, like, story-based games, I was there in that era. Like, I was there since the beginning of episode, and then when, like, Choices and Arcana and these kinds of games, Love Struck came out, I was always like the first one to play them. So I was replaying one of the storylines in Arcana, and if I remember correctly, it could be very similar. One of the characters is called Valdemar, and she's one of the ones that like freaks me out the most as far as her like drawn design. So I wanted to read the story just for the hell of it, and it was Poe is also a very good vibe setter. Like he can describe an atmosphere in a way that you feel it, and similar to Buried Alive or whatever it was called that I read last year, this was physically uncomfortable for me to read. I have a thing with being disgusted and with body horror or like descriptions, vivid descriptions of bodies or the inside of bodies that I do not like and find very unpleasant. So I liked how he wrote the story. The idea was interesting. It was very short. I did not love the descriptions of illness and dying and how he presented that, because it was very unpleasant for me to read. It's just really not one of the things that I like to read about. All month I was reading on my e-reader In the Company of Witches by Arlie Wallace, which I expected this to be exactly what it is, and that is a hallmarky American story. Like, this feels like a film. All the descriptions feel like a film. Like, I could see this in my head as if I was watching like a 1 hour and 50 minutes like American flick that's targeted at you at this like specific interval of the year around Halloween and October, same as the Christmas stuff. That's exactly how it felt. It felt so quintessentially American. Like the dialogues, some certain focuses by the characters, how they speak about certain things. Like, it just all felt so strongly American that I feel like if you're American, you wouldn't really know what I mean when I say that. But if you're not American, I feel like you would get me when I say that something is like so specifically American. It reads like an American flick, basically. I was enjoying it up until the actual resolution of the mystery, because I thought it was like lackluster at best, weirdly simplistic at worst. Like, a bit of a spoiler moment. I will like mark it and remove the mark when I'm done, but I will just say this. It could be definitely like a difference in belief, in values or something, but the villain doing all this stuff that she did, or like not the villain, but the culprit, doing all this stuff that she did because she wouldn't get buried next to her husband, is incomprehensible to me. But again, that might just be a difference in beliefs, because like, if she believes that there's value into corpses being laid next to each other, then I could understand why that would upset her. But I personally couldn't comprehend this entire thing being set into motion and someone resorting to murder because they're essentially denied like a burial plot. Like, I couldn't comprehend it. I personally couldn't comprehend it or relate to it in any way that she sort of feels that she's being denied a position next to her husband because they won't be buried in the same place. Like, it's definitely like a difference in beliefs and values and something like that, because I couldn't get it. Like, I couldn't get it at all. When she said her reasoning, I was like, what do you mean it matters to you where you're buried? Like, to the point of you killing someone because there's a possibility of you not being buried to where your husband was buried? Like, I couldn't comprehend that at all, rationalize it, empathize or sympathize. Like, I just couldn't process that, because there's a fundamental difference in belief about this sort of thing and concept and death and burials and corpses that I do not share and do not understand. So, spoilers over. as we already said, I want to read something else from this collection. Like, I pull this out every Halloween because it just looks so pretty, and I want to read a little bit of it at a time. But, like, that's one thing. Then I also started reading this, which is like a random comic that my parents have, because of course they do. That's all my dad buys pretty much. Called like The Prince of Night. It's a black and white comic with extremely tiny lettering, which I read about a third of it. I think about a third of it, yeah. I don't like any of the characters though, and that's usually a detriment when I read something, because I don't like any of the characters and I'm not rooting for either side to win. Then what's the point? What's the point of me reading this? So I'm not loving it. That is why I didn't finish it. And then there's this final thing that I got for Halloween from the library, which I'm going to try and not drop because it is enormous. I don't like the formatting of comics where I live because it's just, the formatting is too huge. It's not comfortable to read. And it is this. It's Batman Long Halloween. I think that's what it's called. I don't love the art style, but I kind of want to read it. I found it like in a bookstore. I saw like Batman Halloween. It looked kind of cool. So I got this from the library, and I don't know if I'll read it. I'll try and read it today so that my dad can take it back to the library. But that's kind of it, actually. Like, I thought there was a lot more to talk about. As it turns out, not really. But for this video, I will also like include little clips of what I watched these past 2 days. I also watched like pretty much every Dracula adaptation under the sun that I like. This month, I watched the new one too. So I will include like a few clips of the stuff that I did actually film. Today I will also watch Addams Family Halloween from season 2 because I've been watching Addams Family all October. It just happens every year that I watch episode 1 and then it just snowballs from there. I watch the rest of it because I love that series so much, which is still hilarious to me that like a black and white series from the 60s like gels with me to this extent. So I will watch Addams Family Halloween from season 2. I will watch The Crow, which I was just reminded of, actually. There was something else I wanted to watch that I completely forgot about. The Woman in Black. I really don't know if I will manage to cram in all those, like, all that into tonight. But currently it is time for me to go eat because I am starving and I've been doing work for a few hours. So I hope you're having a great Halloween. I hope your day went better than mine did. And I hope that it is not hot where you live. If it is, my condolences, because I absolutely feel you. It wasn't exactly hot where I live, but it was warm. Like, I just walked out to have a coffee and I was sweating. It is not the vibe that you want for Halloween. But I have my pumpkins for the last time this October, which I love, and it's convenient because I currently don't have any light in this part of the room. So I put like the bleeding candles and the mushroom candles and all the pumpkin spice candles on full blast in my room while I was working, and let's hope that the aesthetic seeps into me since the day has been less than exemplary. So happy Halloween, enjoy the rest of the clips, and I will see you in November, also known as my favorite month of the year, even though I'm going back to university.
Farlord, 1442. The Turkish Sultan enslaved 1,000 Transylvanian boys to fill the ranks of his army. These child slaves were beaten without mercy, trained to kill without conscience, to crave blood.
Let's have the real, the true, the unadorned you. Beautiful. Now for immortality. Behold, don't look, don't even breathe.
Why, Wednesday? I didn't expect you until the morning.
Nobody home in the neighborhood?
I told her to wear a nice ghost get-up.
You probably scared people to death with that horrible costume.
I didn't scare anyone. Huxley's still out trying.
What's wrong? Didn't you have a good time?
I had lots of fun.
Oh, darling. What's this? Tears on our very own holiday? Why, all those nice witches and goblins flying around.
That's just it. They told us there weren't any witches.
What?
What fiend uttered that vile canard?
Mr. Thompson across